Thank you. All right. So welcome to the session. So this is week 11, right? By the way, how was your quiz? Any comments on quiz? Was it easy, tough, okay?
It's mostly okay, but I think at least one question seemed to be kind of very general question. I don't think it was ever covered in the topic, but I think there is a discussion on it. But otherwise, it was very, mind view, right? And Srinivasan's view, it
Okay.
was kind of narrow, right? It was focusing on very specific topics, and quite a bit on database queries.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. That is probably how it was set up, but it didn't cover much into say REST, right? So it didn't cover
Okay.
even the week 5 to 8. It didn't cover them in an equal fashion.
Okay.
But that's okay. I mean, I just felt that was just a comment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all right. Anyway, that this feedback is really important, right? So I mean, this helps us to modify for the coming runs, right? So that's fine. All right. Yeah. So
There was one comment that
hmm,
somebody wants to make a compile system, right? They want to compile things and all the stuff. What would be PAAS, IAAS, SAAS?
okay.
There were questions whether we ever discussed it in the topic, but I don't know. It might have been mentioned in the initial week, but I also don't remember that. That question is there in discourse already.
Okay, all right. Is it about the platform as a service and infrastructure as a service, like?
Yes, yes, yeah. That's
Okay, but are these things not discussed in the lectures?
probably week one. It was probably mentioned. I don't know. I don't recollect it that specifically.
Okay,
But we can anyway discuss it in discourse. Anyway, the question is there.
okay, okay, fine. All right. So I will also go through it. I mean, let's see what exactly the issue is. Okay, fine. Thanks for the feedback, anyways. All right. Okay, so this is more of, as we all know, this is a general discussion session, right? Activity and practice. So, okay, how far have you all come with the watching videos of week 11?
So briefly watched it, all the videos, but briefly, like not into the details of it.
Okay,
All the videos.
okay. So have you worked on the activity questions then?
No, sir, I did not get time to work on the activity question. Actually, I was seeing, like I was going through what was there in this. I saw the levels of the video, like JavaScript and all that. So
Okay,
I got a bit excited, like what is there. So I checked it out, basically.
okay, fine. All right. So this week basically deals with what do we have with the current stage of HTML. I mean, at this point, we are mostly okay with creating an application, right? So as you may have seen in week 7, it was a full-fledged application involving everything, right? APIs, if there was any database, front end, back end, server, everything is there, right? And we have used HTML5. Now the question is two things to understand. One is have we directly created HTML5 and started using? That is one of the question. And the other question is are we going to stop here? Right. So the application or the idea that we have for modern application development, is it start stopping? I mean, are we done? I mean, is this about only ideas now, or there will be more concepts? So definitely yes, right? So we have touched upon very basics of application development, what a simple or basic application would look like. Now there is more of interaction and adding dynamicity to this web pages that we would want, right? So this is where the JavaScript actually comes in. All right, because JavaScript, yeah. So the word JavaScript was in our course was first coined in week 8, right? So when we were talking about application front end, right? So so this is, but there also we have touched upon, very basics of JavaScript. Why is it used? How is it used? And what are the practical aspects of using JavaScript have not been covered there also. And here even we won't be going into much details because JavaScript is something that is now the current application development is working on, right? So we would not want to limit JavaScript as a content of 1 week. So that's why uh, we have kept, or we have pushed JavaScript to the next part of course, right? That is why application development 2, that is MAT 2, will be more of talking about various aspects of JavaScript basically. So that is about the week 11. And apart from that, as I said, the first question, right? Have we directly come to HTML5 and started working on it? So that is not the case. So we have started off with the very basics. As I remember, it's like the very first form of HTML or markup languages came into picture in 1960s, right? So from there we have been evolving because I mean, in 1960, where there were things that were not used. For example, we might not have video uploading, right? So the very purpose of having HTML or markup languages at that point was only setting and documenting the documenting the content of a web page. That's it. It did not have very dynamic nature. It did not have so many other components like images and canvases and etc. Right? So at that point, the HTML was very limited, and even it was not HTML. It was mostly we would call it as SGML application, right? So standard generalized markup language, or yeah. So that is the something it started off with. And the only thing was it was more of a rigid structure. Currently the HTML that we see as of today is not very rigid with respect to syntax and everything, right? You miss one tag here and there, you don't add something, you forget to add something, it does not throw any error, although the content will somehow be changed as in it will be understood by the compiler in a different way. Compiler in our case with the browser, but it was not the case previously. So it was having rigid rules. For example, if you may have gone through the slides, you may have come across things like okay, just let me go there. I'm not sharing screen, I'm just taking my reference. Yeah, so the very first time markup languages came into late 60s, right? And the only idea that they had was typesetting and document systems. So at that point, as I said, where there were not many forms of content that one might put in an HTML file. So it was very basic. Then things like SGML, DTD, and applications of HTML came into picture. All right, and we have then various versions of HTML like HTML, HTML 2.0, HTML4, and then finally we have stopped till HTML5. All right, and then there are other things like XML and yeah, XML and etc. XHTML, yes. So these are the things. So these is something. So the first part, or what we say, the first half of what we have seen as a content of week 11 discusses about evolution of HTML. How did we evolution of markup? How did it start, and where are we today? And the second part is where the JavaScript is involved. Everything which is between the first part and the second part of week 11 is what we have seen as the content of week 1 to week 10. Right. So this is basically just an overview of what you may have seen, or you would see when you go through the lectures of week 11, right? All right. So basically, this session will be more dedicated towards general discussion, discussing about activity questions and practice questions of any sort that you have. And also we can take up doubts from the previous weeks. So I'm open to that. All right. Any issue you want to discuss?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, my question is more like a general question.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was thinking, like we learned about this Flask application with Ginger and all this, and
Okay.
we also kind of not we have not applied that, but we kind of know where JavaScript comes in. So like I was wondering how these things fit in. Like when we use JavaScript, do we get rid of this all this Flask and Ginger and all this, or we use them both at the same time? How
Okay.
does it work?
No. So basically, we use both. It depends on you. For example, it's first question you might ask is whether the web application I'm going to create is using Python or not, right? If you want to involve Python as a programming language of your application, then there will be some component of Python that deals with that. So this is where Flask comes in, right? So now there are two things in an application, the front end and back end. All right. Front end is the technologies that we see, the three technologies, right? HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay. Now backend is dependent on what the developer wants to create on, right? It can be Python, it can be again JavaScript. Okay. It can be Java, it can be PHP. So these are all programming languages that are used in backend to create the web, the server side of the application. All right. So the reason why we are using Python is more. I mean the bucket of students knowing Python is definitely more, right? So it becomes easy for them to understand and integrate new concepts in Python, because we expect that they don't need to work on basics of Python, right? Writing a simple hello world code on Python, that is not something they will be lacking. So that is expected. That is why we go with Python. Okay. If now in this stage in MAD 1, if you select Python as the basis of your programming language, then you will definitely have a set of completely all the things that you're thinking of, that is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Python. Everything will be there.
So, sir, in like in the model view MVC structure, where this HTML and CSS, this comes under the view, that is clear. So can we say that JavaScript and this Python, Flask, Ginger, all this comes under this controller part?
Correct. So Python is a programming language, right? You are creating your server, your controller. So I mean your controllers, app.py, whatever you write in that, whenever you create a route, you define a view function. This is Python, right? So everything that is there is server side. So Python can be called as something that you would include in a controller part. Now JavaScript is both. All right. So there is a component of JavaScript which is used for front end. There is component of it which is used in backend. So if you are using that component, for example, so as we say it called Node.js, right? So Node.js is a framework in JavaScript that you might use for backend. Okay. So in that case, you don't need Python.
Okay, so let's say someone who knows only JavaScript, like any frameworks of JavaScript, he might be able to create a full-fledged website with the help of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Then,
Correct. Yeah. Possible.
and that is not possible with Python, because with Python we may find some difficulties.
No, see, you have created a front end also with Python, right? Jinja.
Yes, sir.
So that component of Python is used for front end. So that's what. So if you Python is universal, but what part or what is the major chunk that is there of Python in our application is more in the server side, not in the front end. See, simply serving in the files is a role of HTML. Okay. How is this content is stored? I mean, sent from Python to HTML is where Jinja comes into picture. That's it. Otherwise, it's all HTML and CSS. So that is little part of Python that is coming in. Otherwise, the major part of Python is in the backend.
Okay, sir.
All right. So it depends on what we have to use as a tech stack. This is what we call as tech stack. Right. So that's what. So web application divided into two parts: front end, back end. All right. Now that I'm considering database as a part of back end. All right. Now front end, select your languages. Back end, select your languages. In front end, definitely there will be HTML and CSS. Now what you use to add dynamicity is that something you have to decide on, whether it is going to be JavaScript, whether it is going to be Python in form of Jinja. Backend, that is now what should be the server side scripting? How should the server side scripting be done, with Python or with JavaScript? If Python, then okay, we have Flask. If JavaScript, then we have things like Node.js. All right, things like that.
And sir, in the
Yeah.
Sir, I have one doubt in quiz, like one of the questions from the quiz.
One of the questions of quiz, okay? Yeah, okay, just a minute, Viraj. Just let Abhishek finish, right? So we're discussing on yeah, this thing. So let's finish this and then we'll go to the next topic. Yeah, Abhishek, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. In the lecture videos of week 11, I came across a thing, single page application (SPA).
Correct. Yeah, SPA, single page application.
Single page application.
Hmm.
So, can you please explain the single page application? Like, I am not able to understand it completely.
Okay, so how are you booking cabs when you're going to? Let's say you want to book a cab, you're using applications like Ola and Uber, etc. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, at any point, can you tell me when are you redirecting from one page to the another in Ola?
Redirecting from one page to another page.
Yeah, moving from one page to another.
So first of all, so I don't think there is a redirection because
That's what. So that's why we are calling it single page application. Everything there is happening on that same page. There is no redirection from one page to another.
so let's say for Zomato, so Zomato we have redirection, right? Because whenever we click on a particular restaurant, that page opens up. So that is a redirection. Can we say that
Correct, correct. Yeah. So a single page application, it's not that 100% it will have on one page. Maximum things that you see in an application, most of the features single page. Okay. I mean, scrolling and moving here and there. So there are more things to it, which will be covered in detail in AppDev 2. But just to, I mean, there are so many things associated with it. If I say them now, if we discuss them now, we will be leading to any different direction. So what I want to say is single page application, the word as it suggests. For now, we need to understand that, okay, there are minimal redirection from one page to another.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Now details of that will be covered in JavaScript because that's what. So this is single page application means you are not changing any page. Not changing any page means changes in the pages are happening. I mean, in the components of the pages, not the entire page, right? So this is a tougher task because this is adding so much of dynamicity to your page, right? So I give you two scenarios. Okay, so there is let's say a list of people and a list of their, let's say, cell phones they own. Okay, now if and this is all given in the database, all the information is there. What you just have to do, render. Okay, render list of people. Okay, and on the next page, if you select any student, sorry, any person, it will give you the mobile it owns, right? So this simple task is using two pages. Are you following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now I'm saying you that, okay, no, I don't want any redirection. You click on the page, the information of that student should appear in the same page. Okay, so this is not a simple redirection. This is a lot of dynamicity. The content of page is changing on your click. Whenever there is an event happening, the content of page is changing there itself. So this is now your page is not a simple static or very less static. Now it is moving towards more of dynamic page. All right. This is how is this happening? This is happening because we are also having JavaScript running in. Okay. And as I said, JavaScript will be more involved when we will go to Mat2. So you will talk about concepts of single page application when you will be dealing with Mat2.
Okay, sir.
All right, but I hope you got this scenario. What is happening?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like the basic concept is clear.
Yeah, minimal certain redirection will be there. For example, if you're using an application and if you want that application somewhere wants you to subscribe, so for the payment page it will go to definitely a different page, not the one that you're having currently.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For the payment page, it goes to a different page.
Yeah.
So like applications can also be like single page and multi-page, something like that.
Yeah, correct. So they are now these the single page application is not confined to any particular type of application. It can be a web standalone, everything, right? All the mobile applications that you're having, that you're using can be, will also be single page and will also be not the web application, the one that you are installing in your application, in your system or your machine, phone, right? .apks.
Okay. So can you repeat the last part, sir?
Yeah, so what I'm saying that the applications, single page application, right? So it is not a single page web application. It is not single page UI application. It is not single page desktop application, right? It is single page application. So it doesn't, it doesn't depend on what base or what platform you're using for that application, right? It can be a web application created as single page. It can be a mobile application created as a single page type.
Okay, okay. So whatever the platform is, it will remain single page in all the platforms.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a single page application can be one of these. It is not that every web, it is not that only web applications can be single page.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Now you want to create a single page application, single page application. One application that is a platform independent, but is single page throughout. So you have to create, code it that way. Right. The way of creating GUI application is different from the way we do in web application.
Okay, okay. So like Uber, like let's say for Ola or Uber, these mobile applications are single page. But if we, let's say, if you do the booking from Google Chrome or something like that from website, then it is not single page. Then
No, if the website wants it to be single page, they can have it.
they can have it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Viraj.
Yes, sir. So I have doubt in first question of this. I had the F1 set, QPF1.
Okay. What is the first question? Can you read the question?
Like asking for endpoints like app.py file is given and template is given.
Okay, that ABC XYZ.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. If there is any issue with the question, it will be corrected later. Don't worry.
So I think the option third is wrong.
Yeah. So so the change in option is identified by us also. Don't worry, it will be cleared out when we will be, actually signing off this course.
Oops, thank you.
All right. Yeah. Anyone else? Any doubt?
Sir, another question, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead, Abhishek.
In this JavaScript, so now there is some concept of framework, and with that also I learned that this uh, element creation in HTML5. Uh, could you please like explain a bit about that?
Yeah. So custom elements.
Custom element, yes, sir.
Yeah. So the thing is, what we are saying that we can create our own elements. Only that we have to define how this element, should be called, what it should run. What it should display. For example, we are having an image tag, already mentioned image tag in an HTML5. So there is a syntax and how you define an image tag, right? Image, then src, then you give the link. So that is what a custom element allows you to do. You can create your own tag and decide what it does. Okay, and the names and all that you can give is don't have to be, very intuitive. You can give the name you want. That is what custom tags mean. Okay, so these are custom elements, and these are allowed. You can create them in, initially they were very easily done in XML, right? So XML had these idea of custom tags. Okay, but now we can also do it in HTML. It's what how it is done, and any use, I don't think we basically need that. And to be honest, I'm not really sure how to create one. So the thing is, HTML5 provides sufficiently large set of elements that we require. So we don't have to create any custom tag by ourselves, which is not there already. So uh, although it can be done, I've not tried it yet, so I'm not sure with that.
Because sir, I was what I was thinking, like HTML language, it is
Hmm.
parsed when we write it, and when we let's say run it in the browser, it is like some kind of parsing is done.
Yeah.
So that parsing is defined somewhere. Like I
Hmm.
don't know where, but somewhere it is defined and it is parsed accordingly.
Correct.
So if I have a h1 tag, that means it will give me a heading of the largest font it can give.
Yeah, but that's what. So H1 tag. So this is the difference between actually the descriptive marking and the one you're talking right now. So descriptive marking, what it says is every time when I write about H1, you should have these stylings. This is defined somewhere. Okay. I mean, the font size should be this much, this many pixels. It should have this font as it looks. So this is all defined. But does it have to be that way? I mean, does it always have to be that way? Is not something that is solid. Will H1 always have highest font size? Is not something very rigid. That is something you can change.
Yeah, that is something we can change with the help of CSS or inline attribute also, like uh, font or something like that.
Yeah,
We
so
can.
that is no, that is something which the user is doing. I'm saying it can be defined in a way. I mean, I can call H6 as S1.
So that is my question. Like this definition, like
Hmm.
where we are defining it. Like I know that H1 will give me the highest font size, of like font size of the highest.
Okay, okay, got it. Yeah. So, all right. So for that, we have to check the documentation of HTML. I mean, where are these rules set? Okay. And
Okay.
what is, I mean, what is there in the browser that does that? Okay, which, okay, I mean, there has to be pointers, right? If the browser look at H1, I mean, the angle bracket in H1, it should run some code at the background, which will process this kind of text, right? This
Yes, sir.
output of text. So that is something which is written in the compiler of the browser, which parses the HTML and shows it the way we want.
So
Yeah.
now when I am adding a tag,
Hmm.
like when I'm creating my own element, then I
Yeah.
need to have some kind of definition installed in this part, the part where you are talking about.
Yeah. See, that's what. So as I said, I have not created any custom element by my side. So there is something that I can only assume at this point. I can assume that, okay, so when, for example, when you're creating a function in Python, right? So we say that, okay, define this function. And then we said that, okay, this function will take arguments or whether or not they take argument or not, right? So this is something that we define. So when we are defining custom element, it is not only the element that we define, we will also define the set of rules, how browser will render it,
Yes, yes, sir.
right? So this is what I am assuming should happen while defining a custom element.
Okay, okay, sir. That's enough.
How is it actually done is something I can dig up and then maybe come up with a proper answer to that.
And these frameworks are the in JavaScript,
Yeah.
all frameworks like Angular.
Yeah, so frameworks are something, frameworks are like, for example, Flask is a framework in Python. Similarly, Angular and Node.js, okay, and what we call a React.js, these are all frameworks in JavaScript, which do not ask you to create your own functions, gives you, which give you the set of functions that you can use and perform certain tasks. All right. For example, I am in Python. So we'll try to relate it with Python because we are more familiar with that. Right. So we have Python. Now I want to create a web application or I want to create a function that relates a particular task with a particular URL. Okay. I don't know what a Flask is. I know only Python. Okay. Now, what is Python doing? What is, okay, so if we go through first few lines of a simple Flask application, what do we see? @app.route, okay, URL and the function. Okay, this is what we see. So my task is, at that point using Flask, my task is to just define what a particular function should do. Okay, at any point, I am not defining how this function is mapped with a particular URL. Okay, I'm just using the tools given by Flask to map a function with a URL. Am I clear what I'm saying with this? Are you clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So this @app.route, it is a tool given by Flask so that I can map my function to the URL. All right. So here my task is only to define a URL and define a function. All right. I am not writing any code as to how this function is being mapped to the URL. Correct.
Okay.
If I did not know anything about Flask, I would also have to not only have to mention the URL, not only have to mention the function of that particular, I mean, what that particular function is doing. Also, I'll have to write the code as to how I should map this function or this controller part to that URL. Okay. Now, which one is easy? Using Flask, right?
Using Flask, yes, sir.
Yeah. So now if we try to relate this with JavaScript also, the same thing. Okay, now I have, let's say I have, now in case of JavaScript, there are things like events. Everything in JavaScript, most of the things in JavaScript work on events, right? So what is an event? Let's say a click of mouse. All right, talking about SPA, as I said, when I click on student, it should give me the details of student on that same page. All right. So if I click on, so when to display this detail is happening on an event. What is that event? Click of mouse. Right. So there are various events that are defined in JavaScript, and certain functions are triggered when these events happen. All right. Now, let's say I want to add some animation with the help of JavaScript. Okay, to that event. Now let us talk about the dynamicity of the page. Dynamicity of the page is, let's say, adding animation to that page. Okay, or changing content of the page whenever I click on something, right? Not so easy task, only talking about simple JavaScript and simple HTML. All right, but but if I use a front-end framework of JavaScript, it will give me some tools which I can use and do that thing directly, right? So one of the front-end frameworks that we use is React. Okay, React.js. All right. The one that we will be using in Mat2 is Vue.js, right? Vue.js. So what are these? These are frameworks of JavaScript which allow me to do certain things in JavaScript without having to write the additional code required. All right. It's like okay, this is the event and this is the function. How to actually do that is taken care of by the framework.
So, like, I know a little bit of JavaScript, so there is something called event listener or something like that.
Yes. Event lister.
Yeah. So, do we
No,
need?
these are event listeners and all events and event listeners. These are not the actual, these are not the tools provided by frameworks. These are general JavaScript concepts.
Yes, sir. General JavaScript.
Yeah.
I told you, I know a very little bit of JavaScript.
Correct. So in React, if we see, we have terms like broadcast. Okay. So what is broadcast actually doing? For example, if I'm creating a chat application, all right. So if I'm writing something on one system, it should go to another system as a message, right? So like that's how we call the chatting is being done. So what is happening? A message written will be shown to me on the screen, but at the same time, it is being broadcasted to the other system. Now I don't have to worry about how it is done. I just have to write within the function broadcast. All right, and things are done. So these are the tools that these frameworks provide to me, and I don't have to worry about what is the exact brute code of that. I just have to worry about what are the inputs these tools are taking and what is required as an output. So basically, it's not that you will always need a framework. It's that you want to create an application in quicker way, in a more organized way, because these obviously, if developers are creating a framework, it is much more organized than any general one of us doing that.
Okay, sir. Understood. Thank you, sir.
Right. So I'm talking only, I'm talking very superficial here. We're not going to details of anything because we will be going in Mat 2 throughout the course.
Yes, sir.
So as I said, tech stack, right? So the tech stack that we'll be using in Mat 2 is Jamstack, right? So it is JavaScript and API, JavaScript API and markup, right? So we'll be using things like that. What is that? What do we mean with these things, markup APIs? So are these REST APIs or not? We'll see in the details in Mat 2.
Okay, sir.
All right. So yeah, so we have just started talking about JavaScript. It is much more detailed. It is quite vast. So yeah, there will be so many things that we might come across very first time. Okay. All right. Anything else that we want to discuss in not with regard to this week also? I mean, we can talk about previous week also. Yeah. So this generally this session, if we go on with discussion, it might becomes a bit shallow because yeah. So we understand that you are also engaged with other coursework, so you will not be able to go through videos and be able to solve practice and activity questions. So there is no point of having very much doubts in detail. But yeah, anyway, so some of you may have gone through, so that's why. Yes, just a quick update. Tomorrow, same time, right? 4 to 6, we'll be having a session with faculty. I hope this is added as an event in your calendars.
Yeah, it is there. Yeah. Only thing is, if you can send an email also, it'll be useful because people may not notice something being added to the calendar because this is the unusual thing, right? I guess there is probably.
All right, sure. Yeah. Okay.
That
So
will be,
yeah, so announcement for the same will be sent.
yeah, it'll be useful.
Yeah, so main agenda for tomorrow will be a kind of revision because yeah, so we are already in week 11 and none of you got to interact with the faculty as of yet. So that will be one of the things, right? Interaction with the faculty. There will be so many things above our level which we may not be able to solve or we may not be able to discuss, but sir can, right? Faculties can. So you can discuss higher level of doubts with them, first thing. Secondly, we will also try to have a technical discussion on the project, right? What is required, what is required up to a certain extent. Okay, what are recommendations or what are core and non-core functionalities of the application, right? How you can also take some hints as in how to achieve something. So yeah, discussion, technical discussion as we call it, technical discussion on the project. So there are two things that we would like to cover in tomorrow's session. One is, as I said, these are the two, project and normal discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for reminding me that. I'll send the announcement for the same.
And I had a question on JSON and finding it
Alright.
difficult to understand. So
Okay.
this is a particular quiz question, right? 100. I think must be there in quite a few papers also. So there is an array of lists, right? And it is being JSONified.
Okay.
And so the answer, I don't know if you can see the answer key. Now it is looking more like a tuple, the things. But within JSON, what would you call it? Right? I'm not able to get the right terms for it. So each list, right now, is looking like a JSON array with some tuples. I thought this is not allowed in JSON.
Okay, so is it a quiz question from previous term? Is it?
No, this term, question number 100.
Okay, this quiz.
So it's a straightforward question. Of course, there's an under Flask and everything, but finally the question comes to that there is an array that is defined, array of strings. Wait, no, array of lists, array of dictionaries is defined, right? And that is JSONified.
Okay, just give me a minute. Let me have a look at it.
You can search for gadgets. That is the capital G. That is the definition used here.
Okay, so all right, so we are trying to JSONify. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, is this the question? This one, right? All right.
Yeah, that's a question, yes.
Okay, so what we have to do is there is a Flask application, right? And we are okay. So gadget is nothing but a list of dictionaries. Okay, and there is a function one with related to home route, right? And it is returning the JSONified list of gadgets. Okay.
Yeah, so that is what will get called. So that's the only thing that will get called. So that is straightforward. And the confusion is between options 1 and 3. 1 and 2.
Option 1 and 2. For the endpoint, the content type of response is application JSON. Okay, so for home,
Because since gadgets is a list of dictionary,
mhm.
I thought each of that dictionary item would come as a separate list in JSONify. But now, in any way, my main question is the option one, what would you call it? This is a JSON object, but within the bracket, is it a
No, but
list?
for the home, this endpoint home, are we returning this? I mean, we're returning restaurant 1, restaurant 2, and
No,
restaurant
no,
3, right?
the answer, no, no, I looked at the whole question, probably it is either option one or two. So we are calling only the JSONify. We are not calling the other part.
No, but the JSONify will be called, I mean, it will return JSONified list of gadget only when we are calling /home, right? This is the route. But this for the home URL, we'll be returning this, right? A list of restaurants. I mean, the dictionary of restaurants.
So won't the answer be then the second option?
All right. What about second option?
Like if you call home, it will JSONify the gadgets.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So currently it is not JSON, right? In JSON, it has to start with curly bracket. Okay, and it will come up as again a JSON object whose key is list of gadgets, and then you have another this thing gadgets, which will be, so the value of the list of gadget will be a list of dictionaries again.
Okay, so that now the internal thing is called a list now.
It will again, yeah, it will be, internal thing is called a list. Yeah, it will be list JSON. I mean, JSON array.
Okay, so this is an array, and each thing is considered a dictionary item.
Dictionary, yeah, within.
So it will be an array of dictionary items. So okay, it's trying to wrap my head, but yeah, JSON is something that I'm still get confused on how the format.
Yeah, so
works.
okay, so see, if you see this, right, basically it will be a JSON. So what it should be, it should be it will be returned in this way, right? The JSONify statement.
Yeah.
Okay, the key, where the key is, I mean, I'm addressing at dictionary as a dictionary. So the key is the list of gadgets, this string, and the value to that will be this array, which is again a list of, actually an array of dictionaries, or array of, yeah, dictionaries. Here outside only the gadget is actually dictionaries, not JSON. All right, they will be converted to a JSON object, and then they will be added here. All right, so the only difference that we will see as output, okay, in output, option
So
4
the
is
Python
anyway.
object is actually an array of lists of a
We
single
could
dictionary item.
quickly run this on Replit and see the exact output.
Yeah, correct. You can try that, but see, the thing is, I mean, just trying to see why option 2 is not correct. The only thing is, it should have been enclosed again in a curly bracket. Then we would have uh, 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 marked it as correct. Right? Everything will be same. Only the thing is, again, list of gadget. Then there would have been an array, because an array, JSON array, is a valid JSON object, right? Array, and
Okay,
within that
okay.
there will be again a dictionary.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
All right. Here it is converting each into option number 4. It is converting each dictionary separately.
Actually,
which
now it is
not the
becoming a
case.
tuple, which is not allowed in JSON.
Yeah, tuple is not allowed.
Okay, so okay, this is actually more like a tuple, no? Because there is a key is a list of gadgets, and the value is a tuple of dictionaries. Yeah, okay.
Tuple, I mean, where do you see tuple? I'm not able to.
Because the key is the first one, list of gadgets.
Yeah.
And then there are 3 values to it, which is not allowed in JSON.
Correct. So it is anyway wrong. I mean, this
Yeah.
it's not the option wrong. You will never get any this kind of output. Even not in simple JSON, you will never get this type of output, because this should have been enclosed in the list only to become, because see, a key will have a single value, right? So you cannot have something like this. It will be an
And
invalid.
now I get it, sir. Now I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, it will be anyway an invalid JSON object.
So then why is the first option correct?
Because you're returning a valid dictionary here. So dictionary will be taken off as a JSON object also. You can, I mean, you can consider a dictionary, sorry, you can consider this to be a proper application JSON response. It is a valid JSON. Right? So when you return, it will be returned as a JSON. See, first option is related to the home endpoint. It has nothing to do with this list and gadget. So you have to just focus on this one, right? Restaurant 1, restaurant 2, and restaurant 3. It is a, I mean, it is a dictionary, but you are returning a dictionary through a web route function, right? So in that case, it will be returned as a JSON. See, there are very, I mean, you cannot simply return anything from a view function. Okay.
So can you elaborate? Like you can return any string, right?
String anything, okay. String can be returned, but you cannot return a variable, or object cannot be returned. Right? A list of objects can be returned, but object cannot be returned, right?
Okay, and one more question. If I pass the JSONify through the function 1, what would have been the output?
Yeah, so the output would have been, okay, so you will have a larger curly bracket, okay, then you will see the string list, the list of gadgets, all right, and then colon, and then everything here, here will come as a value, and then end with a curly bracket.
So it will be a list of like
Dictionaries.
list of dictionaries, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so the whole list will come.
Yeah, entire list will come. All right, so for now, you forget about what is there as a content of gadget list. You see that, okay, gadget is a list, which will now act as a value for this key, the list of gadgets, and will come out as a JSON. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So one, I mean, one very obvious way to look at it is just, type it on Replit and see the output, and you will see, I mean, what I'm basically talking about. So let me show you. Okay, can you see this whiteboard?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so yeah, so I'll write the text. So basically it will come out as this. So firstly, it is a JSON object. So it should be, encompassed with the curly brackets. Then you will see the string. Okay, so what you will see the list. Okay, what was the text there? Not this. This is the file I'm looking at. No. Simnet. Okay, so you will see the list of gadgets. So if I go to sharing whiteboard, I'll just write it once again. This is the key, the list of gadgets. Okay, and then the value of this key would be the entire list, all right, which is again some dictionaries, right, separated by comma. Then you end this list. So this is the ending of value, and then you end this with the again curly bracket. So this would be the output. All right, now these are the dictionaries that you see here. This thing, these three. All right, so that should be the output.
So sir, JSONify just adds the curly brackets.
JSON actually it is actually converting it into JSON object. All right, see what happens is there are certain things which you might see. For example, a simple dictionary. This is the simple dictionary. Right? I'm just sorry for the background prayer. Okay, so for this is the simple dictionary, right? Now this is I mean, for example, if I have this dictionary, I'll just again once again write. All right, so so for now, if I'm having a dictionary, it would look like name. Okay, and then the value would be, let's say, mad1. Okay, this is one of the key value pair. All right, then another thing would be let's say employed. So this employed variable actually takes boolean as the value, right? It can be true or false. Now when you write it in a dictionary, it should look something like this. Okay, so when you write it in a dictionary, okay, a normal dictionary, just a minute. All right, but this is not a valid JSON. Okay, when I do this JSONify, for example, this is some variable, right? My dict, okay, my dictionary, and you JSONify that my dictionary, you will get something like this. Right? This is one thing. Second, employed. Right, the only change here will be this. Right, now this is JSON. So if you see, there is a very minute difference, and this difference will come when you JSONify the first one, the top thing, to the second thing. All right, so these are the distinguishing features which will separate out a dictionary from a JSON. All right, so if you have a feature, for example, if there was no employed in both the dictionaries, you would have never come to know what is the difference.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
All right, so basically they're both, I mean, the LHS and RHS are both valid JSON. So you won't be able to find the difference whether it is a dictionary or whether it is a JSON. All right.
Sir, can you discuss the HTML question also?
Okay, what is the HTML question? Which question?
There's a style function added, and I'll tell you the question.
Just tell me the question number.
Under 111, I suppose.
Okay. 111.
Is it 104?
This one?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, this is more of styling. Just give me a minute.
No, the specific thing is about ID equal to out and class equal to out, right? So these are different stylings. So the question was testing that.
Yeah, actually. Just give me a minute. All right, so we'll try coding this and then see what the output is. All right. Just give me a minute. Let me open the editor. Okay, so I have this question written. So this is the question, right? So I've just taken the HTML part of that, and so just let me check if this is actually the, I mean, exactly the code. Okay, so we are having this style. Okay, anyway, so okay, let me just go live and see what it shows. Okay, so this is basically a question of selectors. All right. Okay, so what is happening here? Just give me a minute. All right, so these are, I mean, the part of selectors. I mean, part of selector. For example, I'm saying for this selector, line number 5, it says that if in an ID there is a text called out, I mean, there is a subtext called out, then it will be selected. All right. Similarly for the class. Okay. So in case of ID, it should turn it red. Okay. So if we go see the output, it is turning this one and this one as a red. So this is, it is actually turning this one H1, and it is also turning this one as red. Okay.
Why is my name is Fred not going to red?
Yeah, just let me check. All right, and here case of class, only one class.
See, ID that for my name is Fred, ID is out text, right? So that also should satisfy the condition.
Yeah, just give me a minute. Let us see. Okay. Shall we check the documentation? Checking. Okay, so here the out will go yellow border. Out text is there. So check if it is a part. Okay, it's one of the.
It should exactly match out text and not just the prefix. For prefix, I guess we'll have to use the caret. That caret symbol.
Not sure. Not clear. What did you say? Caret symbol. I'm not sure what the caret symbol is.
So we are using this tilde symbol. Tilde equals to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this only matches the exact thing. If we use caret thing, if we instead of tilde we use caret, which is this shift 6,
Okay.
that will show prefix value. That will allow us to do prefix search. Here it will try to do exact. This tilde is exact, but I can give value 1 space value 2. So if either it's value 1 or value 2. So wait.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to check if I mean if I get something solid with that. All right. Okay. So basically, okay, where is the code? Okay. So basically, you're saying that the tilde n equals to out. So this out should be exactly the ID.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can give a list of IDs if we want, but there is exact match instead of what we are assuming that it should be.
Okay. But okay, my question, I mean, my doubt is if we are giving, if we are, I mean, if we are checking exact ID, then simply ID would also work, right? Simply.
No, here we can give two IDs, value 1, ID 1, ID 2, and it will match both of those. It will exactly match both of those. So ID 1 will also match, ID 2 will also match. So either
Okay.
we can write this, class ID is equal to out, and then comma ID is equal to this, or give extra values after this.
Okay. Okay. I'm not really sure about this. So just give me a minute.
Sir, it's fine, but can you discuss the concepts for, briefly discuss at least the concept?
No, what I mean for this question.
Yeah, I wanted to understand the style function because in the previous quiz there was another question related to this, and
Okay.
In that I'm confused between the styling options and like the code written with the tags.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Just give me a minute. So basically, this comes under selectors, right? So you are, I mean, so what happens is considering a structure of HTML file, you have tags. So there can be some tags which are, the descendants of particular tag, and there can be some tags which are, the siblings of a particular tag. So in that case, you want to not only in that case you not only want to select a particular tag, but also keep out some elements. I mean, specifically select particular elements. So these are, more into details of what we call the CSS selectors. Okay. Yeah. So one of the resources given from Lakshminandan here is the MDN from MDN, right? So, okay, we can see that also. Just looking at MDN. Okay, so Sonal, are you there? Hello. Okay, things are just not there. Give me a minute. Okay, so these are the attribute selectors, right? So we are dealing with something like this. All right, so it's a elements whose class attribute contains the word logo. All right, so this is what I knew, but it wasn't working according to my explanation. All right, so let's see. So the code is, let's say, class, but accordingly, but it also has elements, but this does not have element. Okay. Attribute value represents elements with an attribute name of attr whose value is a white space separated list of word, one of which is exactly value. Okay. Yeah, Sonal, are you there?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now. Yeah, so Sonal, we are facing issue on this
Yeah.
question. Can you please explain this part?
Okay. So can you go to the question? Which
Yeah,
questions?
yeah. Just give me a minute. Yeah, so this is the question. This is more of CSS selector. That's why I'm asking whether if you know it or not.
Okay, so yeah. So what is the issue?
Yeah, so Ajay, we want to know, I mean, how are these stylings working? I mean, this ID tilde equals to out and class tilde equals to out. How are these working?
Okay, so can you tell me this question number? I can check and get back in 2 minutes. Huh?
Yeah, this is okay. Actually, this is question number 111 in the consolidated document.
Okay, okay. Just give me 2 minutes, okay? I'm
Yeah,
just open.
yeah, sure. Okay, so I mean, yeah. So instead of that, I mean, yeah, till Sonal returns, what can we do is we can give a detailed solution doc for quiz, right? I guess in that case it will be helpful. I mean, I mean, we'll keep as a solution. We'll keep a small key points. I mean, what you need to consider for this question. We can try to do that so that you have solutions for all the questions. This will also help you in, for quiz also. Okay. Meanwhile, Sonal is answering. Is there any other thing that we can discuss on?
So this question, can you try doing one thing?
Yeah.
In the VS Code, can you go and out content? You can make it out space content.
Out space content. Okay, I've done that. Let us see. Yeah. So this is outspace content, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with this, we have this as output, right? So it is taking this. Welcome. Okay. What was the content actually? Yeah. So I'm learning to develop application. This is something it is taking. Yeah. I'm learning to develop application and welcome to world. Okay. Okay. So what can we infer if these are, I mean, if the, okay, but see what happens here when class out space content now, there will be two classes. I mean, this P paragraph line number 17, it will belong to two classes, class out and class content. I mean, classes separated by a space will actually become two different classes.
And which one will it take, sir?
So it can belong to both, right? An element can belong to more than one class. That is not the case with ID.
So
Right.
if it belongs to both class, which at the end, which style will it?
Style it will take. Yeah. So see what will happen here. So for now, let's say we have style based on class out, right? So it has taken yellow color. Okay. Now, if I want to style based on content, I will style that also. For example, let's see. So I'm not using this selector, but I can use simple class. Okay. This class. Okay. Not class. How do we represent a class? With dot, right? Class content. Okay. And here I will write, let's say, color red. Okay. Now the thing is, both the styles, the style with this class and the style with this class will be applied to this element P. Okay. Both the thing will be applied. It depends on what is applied later. I mean, in the style tag, the sequence of styling matters. Okay, for example, now if you see this, do you see the color? Okay, so what has happened? This yellow background will come due to the styling of this class. Okay, and the red color of font has come due to this. Okay, now if I do this, for example, here, I mean, if I select this part from here, and if I put it here, okay, no change will happen because both are different things, right? But if I add new thing here, let's say color is green, and save this. So basically, first what will happen? The style of class content will have color red. Okay, then it will come to this, but style according to this class, it will give border yellow, which is not an issue because both the elements are different. One was color and one was border color. But then it has green color, which is defined after, I mean, sequentially later than this class, right? So it should overwrite it. Okay. So if you see this, see, it has become green. Why? Because it has come later and it has overwritten. So there are two things to note here. This content here, I am learning to develop application. This will belong to two classes, out and content. Okay, it will take the styling of both, defined to both the classes. Okay, now finally, what style you will see? You will see only that style which is defined sequentially latest. Right? Is that clear?
Yeah, works. Thank you.
Okay, but yes, I am still not clear with this. Okay, let me come with a solid solution and solid example for this. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, Sonal, are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible clearly?
Yeah,
So,
audible.
yeah, please ignore the background noise. So see, so the first thing that we can see here is like we are using like basically we are using here the attribute selectors, right? So see, we can see like in the body section we have heading, we have paragraphs, etc. So in that only we are writing many attributes. Like if we say like we have h1 and h2, like in the line number 22 we have id, right? Id is equal to out, and in 23 we have id is equal to out and out and text, out dash and text. So see, we by the help of styling, like css styling, we are basically using the attribute selector. So we are basically picking out one attribute from a certain a certain paragraph, what we can say that element, and then we are applying particular styling to that element. Okay, so first thing is like we are selecting attribute, and second thing is like we are using id and class also. So there is two things to note over here. Like we are also using the attribute selector, and we are also considering the id and class thing. Okay, so see, in if we talk about the id, so we have three ids and we have two classes, right? So three ids, yeah, three ids and two classes. So if we go to the styling part, like in the first styling, the first in which we are giving the styling to the border. So here we can see that we are selecting out. Okay, so basically what this means, okay, so basically what does this means? This means that we are selecting all the attributes, all the IDs, we are selecting all the IDs that have attribute out. Okay, so what is happening here? The two things, like the paragraph that contain classes is we are simply what I can say, eliminating them, right? We are only selecting IDs. We are only want to give a styling to the IDs part, and not to all the classes. Okay, so only we are selecting is the id, and then we are signifying that okay, So we are selecting ID, and after that we are searching for something, some attribute that is out. Okay, that contains out as a part. So if we say that we have three IDs, so okay, so we have out as an attribute, we have out hyphen text as a attribute, and we also have out at the 21, like line number 21, line number 19, and line number 18. Okay, so we are giving border 10 pixel and solid and then red. Can you please run this, save and run this particular HTML document?
Yeah, so before I run this, I'll just take it to the actual form it was. So out content. There was no space.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so can you go back once again? Okay, so we are giving the color to red. Okay, so there is a out content, sorry, out text and out, and then the out. So according to it, we have okay. So hey, and then it should be. Are you also willing to learn? Can you go back? Yeah. Okay. So see, here we can clearly see that the text hey, okay, that is nothing but the heading element, and the paragraph, that is, are you also willing to learn? The both these things that contains that particular attribute that is out is colored in red. Border is colored in red. So why it is not selecting the third one? Can you go back? Uh, yeah. So it is not selecting the third paragraph text, that is my name is Fred. Okay. So that because it is only searching for the out attribute. It is not searching for any attribute that contains out. Okay, it should be particularly an attribute which is out, and not other than that, or out text or anything appending out. So this is the something about ID. See, if we go to classes, so we, how many classes we have? We have two classes, right? We have paragraph, and we have sorry, we have one paragraph. Yeah, two paragraphs. So the first class is out content, and the second one is out. Okay, so what as a styling we are giving to the class that is that contains particular attribute that is out. So we are signifying a color called yellow. Yeah, yellow to the particular border element. So according to me, see, we have two classes. We have out content and we have out. So welcome to world of application development. Okay, so can you go back to the screen interface? Yeah, so see, you can see that welcome to the world of application development. It is only picking this it is only picking this paragraph only. Okay, so it is not picking the previous. And why? Because we are not searching for the attribute that contains out. We are searching for particular specific attribute that contains out. Okay, so it is picking that welcome to world of application development. That is
Sonal,
why
actually, your
it
voice is breaking. I
is
don't know if it is only me or
giving
hello.
color to color yellow.
No, it is breaking. So her voice is
To
breaking.
this
Right now,
element,
yeah.
particular
So
element.
Sonal,
Okay.
once again, actually we lost you. I mean, did not actually lose you, but your voice was, quite. You were in slow motion. So can you just repeat this part? The last part. I mean,
From
the
where
conclusion
I
part.
was breaking.
The
Okay,
conclusion part.
so the conclusion. Okay. So yeah, I'm repeating once again. So see, I was just telling that we here as a attribute selector, we are just selecting those attributes that contain out, specifically this attribute called out. So not that attribute that contains out. As for example, you can see that we have that class called out context, right? Or out something appending. Can you go back Adarsh. You can see that the class, the line number 21, that class is out content. So if you talk about the styling of this class, we are specifying the color as yellow, but it is not attaining that color, right? It is not attaining. Why it is not attaining? Because it contains out. Yeah, it's obviously it contains out, but it that apart from out, it is also containing the other things, right? It is containing content which we know we did not need which is not needed. So that's why it is only picking up that particular 20 number, line number 22 paragraph element. Okay, so that is why it is only giving color to that particular element that is welcome to the world of application development. So yeah, that is the basic logic behind. So yeah, this is basically the attribute selector. You can also read detailings of this attribute selector if you want to. You can go to the MDN docs, and you can go to the W3 schools, and you can read it. Okay, so yeah, is there anything which is which you find confusing or hello, am I audible or okay, clear? Okay, okay. So yeah, okay, fine.
All right, Swan, thanks. Okay, fine. So to just to clear out the confusion, what we'll do is we'll give a small solution kind of thing for each question, so that there is no I mean, if so that which will give you the pointers to understand, okay, what is being tested in the question. All right, so we'll try to do that. And if then on that, if there is any issue, then we will discuss it from the detail. Fine. So yeah, so this is something, one or two questions in the quiz are something that you might find okay, this is something new. But yeah, so I mean, the concept that we want to test is not that. I mean, it is not to test your, okay, what extent you have gone to understand AppDev1. That is not something that we are testing. This is just to test. This is actually just to give you an idea of, okay, what can be there as a part of application development one. There can be one. See, so some of the questions are like either you know completely or you don't know at all. Right? You might not find, let's say, 5 out of 10 questions, but you will find 1 or 2 questions like that. Okay, which is really important, so that we don't, we also have the idea, okay, this is something, this is part of AppDev1, but okay, we should know. I mean, it's not necessity that you have to know it. Okay, so this question, these kind of questions on basically the selectors and attributes, what are there in HTML, are fall on those categories, which is like a one or none, either you know or you don't know. Right? Even myself, when I saw the question, I was not really sure what this exactly means. So yeah, so it can happen. All right, but we'll try to give a consolidated solution sheet for this quiz paper, so that it will help you for the end term paper also. Okay, anything else to discuss on this? All right, so yeah, so for tomorrow's session, I'll send the announcement to each and everyone, so that you have the idea of attending the session tomorrow. And if there are doubts regarding any question on activity and practice, we can discuss it on in the upcoming session on Saturday also. All right. So I hope some of you will be able to solve those questions. I mean, go through all the videos and be able to attempt those questions, so that we have again more detailed discussion on questions. Okay, so is there anything else that we need to discuss? Any doubt? Okay, so I doesn't seem to have doubt, I guess. So if there is no doubt, then shall we close the session? Shall we call it a day?
Thank you, sir.
Sure, sir.
Okay. All right. Fine. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.